I'm Jane. Welcome to the Attract Capital webinar series. I'm here today with CEO and founder David Barnett.
Hi everybody.
Today our webinar title is The Unwritten Rules of Acquisition Financing that separates the pros from the amateurs. So Dave, before we get to this topic, why is it so important?
Well, it's important because these unwritten rules help you to get the best deal in the market. And when you have the best form of acquisition financing, it leads to a higher level of deal performance. You can get more out of your acquisition financing lender, so you can do more in building your company through acquisition. So it's very important to know these unwritten rules.
So why are these hidden or unwritten rules?
They're hidden, I think, in part because they come from experience. A lot of people, when they're looking at how good the acquisition financing proposal is, they just look at the quantifiable things, the tangible things that are in the term sheet that are within the four corners of the term sheet. They'll look at the pricing, they'll look at the repayment of the principal, they'll look at the fees. They'll analyze just those specific terms, and they'll look at the timeline, how long it's going to take. But in order to, the unwritten rules really look at more at the intangibles as opposed to the tangible things within the four corners of the term sheet. So that's why it's hard to understand what they are.
Okay, so Dave, can you tell us a little more, what are the obvious things people do when deciding on acquisition financing?
Well, I'd say the unwritten things that I advise my clients on are to really focus in on the quantity of the acquisition financing as opposed to the pricing of it. Because if you're looking for 15 million and somebody's willing to give you an extra 5 million or 20 million, then that's going to have a lot more value for you in terms of getting down the road, because you can not only buy the company, but then you can invest more into the company. So it's very beneficial to get a bigger ticket size than the initial ask that you had. You also want to look at the flexibility and the scalability. Flexibility being how flexible the lender will be in terms of repaying. Can you repay it all on the back end, 100% bullet maturity, so that you don't have to pay it along the way? And scalability meaning, will they give you more money at various acquisition points throughout your acquisition journey through the form of a delayed draw term loan? So if you get the flexibility and the scalability, then that's a huge unwritten rule that a lot of people aren't even analyzing for when they're talking about getting term sheets from acquisition financing lenders. You also want to look at the engagement style, how the lender engages with you. You want to look at their culture, like the decision making and where the people that populate the senior people of the firm, where they came from and the things that they believe in. And you really want to look closely at the internal process of how they work on the approval in order to get to the closing of the loan.
Okay, so let's look a little closer. Why is flexibility and scalability so important?
Great question, Jane. Flexibility, because the more flexible your financing structure, the more elastic it is, the more latitude you have to absorb any unexpected things that may come down the road. Scalability is important because you always want to get more money from the lender. You want to have the option, whether or not you need more money, you want to have the option to get more money, as opposed to, if you need more money, having to go out and bring in a new lender and to go through an expensive and time-consuming refinancing process.
Okay, so one final question then.
Sure.
Why is culture and engagement style so important?
Well, I believe all these lenders, they're really small companies. They're usually like under 50 people or under 20 people, and it really starts at the top and the senior people of the firm and how they think. That usually cascades down to the people on the front line that you're dealing with. So you want to know the formative and the foundational beliefs that these senior people have. You want to get to where have they come from? What organizations have they been at? What deals have they done well? What do they believe in terms of how they're complementary to the businesses that they're lending to? You want to understand their core beliefs, because when you understand their core beliefs, you can feel better about relying on them for the long term. And you also want to look at I think the second part of that was the engagement style. The engagement style says a lot about, how somebody engages with you, says a lot about how they will behave long term. If they're nice and they're humble in their engagement style to you, chances are you're going to have a more pleasant lending relationship with them over the long term.
Absolutely, it's so important.
I agree.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching us at the Attract Capital webinar series. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Take care, everybody.